Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to our weather update on Thursday, August 21st, 2025. So, this Thursday morning, there's a lot going on, especially out to our west, but starting off at home, if we zoom in here to Ireland and the UK, it is quite a messy picture. There's an area of high pressure out here to our north, and that is allowing a more easterly airflow to come in over the country, but it does come all the way back from the North Pole and Svalbard and the general Arctic regions up there. So it is quite a chilly wind coming around this high pressure system, but thankfully it is quite dry, albeit with quite a lot of cloud cover. So zooming in here, parts of the east and northwest this morning have been trapped under quite a bit of low cloud this morning, but elsewhere a much brighter picture has been in place today, although some high cloud is present, just turning the sunshine a bit more hazy at times possibly. Now for the UK, quite a similar story, but the low cloud cover is a bit more extensive there than in Ireland. Now zooming out and looking at the action to our west, you can see all the way out here to our west, far to the west, near the eastern seaboard of the USA. This is Hurricane Erin. It started off last week all the way down here by the Caribbean and is now tracked northwestwards, missing Bermuda, but giving some major impacts to the northern Caribbean and currently to the very eastern seaboard of the USA. In fact, parts of the east coast of like Carolina, that sort of area, they have been evacuated due to a big storm surge where the area of low pressure combines with the strong winds to create some very high seas in that area of the world. Obviously, low pressure, so air rises, less pressure, so also the sea rises, strong winds, high tides, very high seas with that system. But thankfully, as we've mentioned, the very worst of the winds highlighted in these pink and blue colours here are staying offshore. They're between Bermuda and Carolina now. So, I mean, it could have been a lot worse. Now, for us in Ireland and the UK, the interest will come through the early part of next week as this hurricane transitions into an ex-hurricane and does interact with our jet stream, and it currently looks like it will be very strongly invigorated, powering up areas of low pressure and blowing them our way through next week. So these last few days of high pressure here between now and say Tuesday could be the last fine spell for some time, the last fine spell of summer weather for a while. Now, for now, it is quite cloudy and cool in parts of the country, but through the weekend, it is meant to warm up a bit, and the cloud should break up quite nicely. But this is the current overall picture of the North Atlantic Ocean now. It is quite, Hurricane Erin's the big talking point here, isn't it? So here is the NHC forecast cone for Erin. It's currently, as I said, just there, east of the east coast of the USA, and it's currently tracking northeastwards. It will stay as hurricane status right through to Saturday. It becomes post-tropical hurricane by Saturday afternoon there, just southeast of Newfoundland, and then it keeps tracking up towards Europe there as a post-tropical storm, basically. And by 2 a.m. Tuesday, it is forecasted to be just to our northwest and south of Iceland there, and that will be the cause of a more powerful jet stream and a more westerly airflow. Now, on Tuesday, the Met Office of the UK did a deep dive. It's the weekly upload on Tuesdays, very in depth, but it's a very good watch. So I do encourage you to watch that. It's so in depth and it really is very informative. But what's happening with Erin is that as it comes northwards, it drags up some really quite warm air. So if we go towards the GFS here, I think we can just go to the. You can go to over here towards America. Yes, we can, and it could be better from Europe actually. Yeah, there we go. So upper temperatures, you can see some very warm air being dragged in by Erin up from the tropics. There, you can see just this core of heat basically within that storm, and that will interact with the cooler air coming out of like Greenland and Canada. So there'll be a big contrast in temperatures in that part of the world around, say, Newfoundland and eastern Canada. And that will be what drives the jet stream. Remember, the jet stream is always about the big contrast in temperature. And that's why in the summertime, it's quite weak, and during the winter time it's quite strong, because during the winter months, we got extremely cold air with the polar vortex up to our north towards Greenland and Canada, and that collides with the warmer air from the tropics, and you get these huge storms. And that is why, say, if you get a big cold blast down the eastern coast of the USA, we often get a storm a few days after that, because you get the cold air diving south, meeting the warm air in southeast USA, jet stream really gets powered up, and we get a storm as a result of that in the days following that. So, bit of science about the jet stream there. But this is why Erin will fuel the jet stream up. Got that bigger temperature contrast on the jet stream. Okay, so here's the No, not there yet. I just did that for a bit of explanation. Let's put that back. And let's go towards the high-res UKV precip cloud forecast. So here is the chart for today. You can see it's showing a lot of clouds. It is a bit better than what this shows, in the sense that there's quite a wide area of the Midlands, Munster and Ulster that today are actually quite nice. Bit of high cloud, but that's quite limited really. And more just the east and northwest that are, for now, on the lower cloud. But now, for me, even in the east, it's starting to brighten up. The sun's just poking out there. Yeah, so going through towards the evening, some more extensive bright spells might form, according to this run. But this run, and every other model, I feel like, with the cloud cover forecast, has been really bad this week. Really hard to forecast these cloud cover totals in this area of high pressure. So going through tonight, if this is right, it shows more low cloud coming in from the west, bringing a few showers towards the west coast, but many areas are staying dry. Tomorrow morning, possibly some bright spells in the east of the country, but those are very short-lived. It turns overcast quite quickly through the day, just a lot of cloud around the sky really, a few light showers in the west, but overall dry. Go through into the weekend. This is where we see high pressure becoming more centrally located over the country, and that will allow for more bright spells to form, but a few showers as well, as we get more of a southerly airflow, and we get, I think, a more humid air mass. Let's see if that's correct. Yeah, we get a bit more of a humid pressure from the south, I think, through Saturday. Going through into the evening, into Sunday morning, you can see some clear spells and some showers at times, and we go through. And Sunday is quite similar, but it does look like there'll be some more high clouds compared to Saturday, and a few showers around again. Quite warm as well. Now Monday looks better if you want a more sunny day nationwide for Monday, because you can see just a bit of high cloud, but otherwise back to sunshine, great day to be out and about. And by Tuesday, you can see just the start of the Atlantic incursion there, that intrusion of that cold front there. The outer bands of Ex-Hurricane Erin pushing in through Tuesday, and that might be autumn's descent. Moving on to the temperature forecast from the UKV. Off we go. So today, quite a cool day really, still under easterly airflow, so temperatures in the high teens, possibly scraping 20 Celsius somewhere in like West Munster, possibly, Excuse me, guys. Just gonna close that over. There we go. And through into Friday morning, temperatures around average, really around 13 or 14 Celsius. Going through into Friday morning, we can see highest temperatures in the afternoon getting up to around 18 to 21 Celsius. So quite warm in the south, but in the north, a bit cooler still. And going through into Friday night, Saturday morning, lowest temperatures a bit milder, more cloud cover and the southerly airflow as well. So that'll hold temperatures in the mid-teens Celsius. Into Saturday, quite a warm day, so temperatures are warming up as the high pressure does come over us and go to the east, get more of a southerly drift, and with some sunshine, we have temperatures rising widely into the low 20s. Saturday evening, Sunday morning, a bit chilly if we have clearer skies, and into Sunday afternoon, again, widely 20 or 21 degrees, so pleasant weekend coming up. Into Monday, even warmer. Some places might see an isolated 24. But all change as we go into Tuesday. So now moving on to the ensemble graphs from the GFS for the temperature at 850 HPA and the precip forecast. So you can see, if we zoom in, we can see the red line here is the 30-year temperature average for 1.5 kilometers in altitudes, and currently is looking quite warm, about 10 degrees. So we're now about 2 degrees above average with these temperatures. But as we go through late August, they do drop away, and that is in conjunction with a lot more rainfall, as shown by these spikes on the bottom here. So going wetter and cooler towards late August. Ouch, just banging my hand there. And start of September looks a bit cooler actually, with many of the ensembles going below average with the temperatures and a lot more rainfall still. So a cool and wet start to September. Quite unusual, I think, to see that in these modern days, you know, because recently many Septembers have started with high pressure, warm and dry weather, but this September is doing things differently for now. So here's a GFS midnight run, started last night. So you can see we now have high pressure over us and centering towards Greenland, Iceland. That's for now allowing still that chilly easterly airflow of the country, but that will be short-lived as the high pressure does become more centrally located over the country, and that will help warm things up and settle things down. Into the weekend, we see the high pressure centering to our east over the UK up towards Shetland, and that pulls up a more southerly airflow, a bit of sunshine, temperatures into the low 20s. That'd be quite nice. Beyond that, Monday's quite nice, but you can see Ex-Hurricane Erin to the west, gearing up and pushing in to the north for next week. So showers and areas of rain pushing through. By the end of the week, that area of low pressure is right over the country, bringing in again showers and areas of rain, and again quite cool temperatures, upper temperatures again, you know, quite cool really. And under the rain, it shouldn't feel too pleasant at all. Going through late August through to early September, we can see a northerly wind gets established, so really cool by then. You can see the greens pooling to our north and west. That is the 0 Celsius ice storm at 850 HPA. And it's starting to pool a bit to our north. Just compare that on the 1st of September to now. The greens are there, but by September, they're more extensive. They become, you know, they start to pool to the north. The start of autumn beginning to form, you know, starting to get in gear. Late summer winding down, and just the start of the transition into cooler weather here, into the cooling phase of the year. So starting off September looking quite wet and windy. We keep seeing areas of low pressure coming in, and by the end of the run, that is by the 6th of September, upper temperatures You can see the zero ice storm getting closer to us. That is truly autumnal air, and actually a puddle of -5 ice storm south of this area of low pressure, and a bit of -10 ice storm even up there. So yes, awesome getting in gear through the next few weeks, I think. Here is what has come out so far of the GFS 6Z run. Yes, so once again, high pressure will be becoming more centrally located through the weekends. Warmer and drier, so enjoy that, cherish that while it lasts, because it won't last. And we keep going into next week. We see Ex-Hurricane Erin bringing in its rain and winds, cooling down as well. We get an area of low pressure right over the country by the end of the week, and we end up starting September cool and showery. Another area of low pressure coming through by next Tuesday, and it's cooling down as well. Some very cold air actually over Greenland. Here is the ECM midnight run. So the ECM, once again, tomorrow quite cloudy. Saturday, Sunday, quite decent, quite fair. A few showers around, but quite warm. By Sunday and Monday, same sort of thing. Tuesday brings in that weather front with Erin. By that point, obviously, just an ex-hurricane, a normal, a typical mid-latitude low coming in from the west. Again, we get that low right over the country by the start of the weekends, and we start September looking properly autumnal with wind and rain pushing in, but a brief warm surge by Friday, but that is with this area of low pressure, so copious amounts of rain. Here is the UK Met run. UK Met once again going for quite a decent few days ahead, and in comes Erin there, across the country as well, but actually the UK Met run keeps us comparably not too bad. Probably some rain showers, but by next Thursday, not too bad. High pressure to the east, trying to pull in some warmer air from the east, but I think that's quite weak. And there are some deep lows waiting to the west, and they'll probably just flatten any attempts at summer off. Moving ahead to the GEM. GEM, it's the same sort of story, quite a decent few days to come, so enjoy that while it lasts. It won't last. And Erin comes barreling in there by next Tuesday, Wednesday. Plenty of wind, rain and showers with that, possibly a few storms. And we end August and start September looking very cool and showery with northeasterly winds. Icon. So once again, we're looking quite decent up until Monday. Up comes Erin through into the week. However, Erin does miss us more. It does veer off to the north and hits Iceland instead. And while we're showery, yes, we aren't too bad compared to the GEM, for example. That just blew us off the chart. But this one doesn't do it too badly. Until next Thursday, I think we got a quite deep low to the west, and that will be rolling in without any hesitation through Thursday nights. Ending off with the arpege. The arpege, once again, tomorrow, Friday, is quite cloudy, but dry, light winds. Saturday and Sunday are brighter, a few showers around, upper temperatures looking quite warm. And going through into Monday, well, one last fine day probably. Cloud cover, quite empty. A bit of high cloud, but you can see out to the west, that is Devil. That is Erin. I was about to push in to introduce autumn, I think. I think that also a big question that we have to ask is that since this year, 2025 so far, has been a very, very anticyclonic year, high pressure has been a very recurring theme through the year so far, starting off in January with that very cold snap. February, again, high pressure. March, very high pressure, very, very, very high pressure dominated. April, Easter was a bit more showery, but apart from that, high pressure. May, same story. June wobbled a bit at the start, but again, heat wave came along. July, we got a heat wave. August was warm as well through the last few days of the month, as in like last week. And September, well, wait and see. But for now, there is no foreseeable return to high pressure as of yet. So once we say goodbye to this area of high pressure, it looks autumnal, wet, windy for the foreseeable. But remember, September can still be quite nice. High pressure is very frequent and common recently in this era through September, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if we got a heat wave like mid-month, if I'm being honest with you. So we'll see how it works out in the end, but that's just for now food for thought. Anyway, thank you for watching. Enjoy your Thursday. I'll see you later.